everybody. How are you guys doing tonight? Oh my gosh, I'm so glad you guys are here. I'm watching this chat already. Oh my gosh, I am so stoked for the show tonight. We have such a cool target to talk about, and it involves aliens, men in black, UFO crashes and retrievals, and of course, government cover-ups, y'all. And this is going to be so interesting. I have our friend Barry Littleton here with me tonight, and so we're gonna really dive into this topic tonight. If you guys would like to follow along with what I'm doing with all of my shows, please go to my website. That's thecryptidhuntress.com. You can find all of my shows there. And I'm sorry, my son keeps calling my phone, y'all, while I'm trying to do this show. If my mom is watching, please go take care of my kid for me real quick. He's right there. Okay. So anyways, y'all, I'm so sorry. Go to my website. That's thecryptidhuntress.com. Also, I have a great YouTube channel. You guys are here watching on my YouTube channel. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel and share my videos out and like the videos and all that kind of good stuff. Okay. And yes, I'm so sorry, y'all. I just got super distracted there. Also, yeah, I just started something called the Hunt Club, and that's if you get a membership to my channel. I would love for you guys to become a member of the channel. I have a few of you guys in here tonight. Thank you so much for all your support. I appreciate it so much. But we call it the Hunt Club, and you can get exclusive videos there, and I can promise you it's going to be a good time over there too. Also, if you would like to follow along with the data, all of my remote viewing data is posted on my Patreon. That's the Cryptid Huntress over on Patreon. Okay. And so shout out to all my Patreon members. I love you guys. Thank you for all the support. It means the world to me. Okay. All right. Well, how about let's get to our show tonight. Okay. And I'm trying to think if I'm missing anything. Okay. Oh yeah. Please, y'all come see me this weekend at Spaced Out Radio too. I am a weekend host over there at Spaced Out Radio. So we have a really good show there this weekend. All right. Okay, let's get to the show tonight. Like I said, we are looking into I'm going to say Varginha is how I'm going to pronounce this. Okay. The Varginha Incident is what this is called. On January 13th, 1996, NORAD, which is the North American Air Defense Command, contacted Brazilian Air Defense to report that there was an unidentified object entering Earth's atmosphere north of Sao Paolo, Brazil. Minutes later, the unidentified object crashed somewhere near the town of Varginha, we'll call it. The Brazilian Air Force and Army were dispatched to the scene and crash site, but did not arrive before many civilians witnessed the crash, and the beings on board the unidentified object reportedly left the crash site. Over the next several days, residents in the area would have their lives changed forever. This incident involved alien contact, men in black, UFO crash retrieval by the military, an entire hospital being shut down after alien bodies were allegedly taken there, the deaths of a soldier and a fireman who allegedly touched the alien body, and a large government cover-up, y'all. How many of these targets do we have that are government cover-ups, right? But this event has been labeled as the Varginha Incident. It was a huge story in 1996, but with some witness reports being changed over the years, people question the validity of this case. They question it. They've heard about it. It was all over the news, but the stories have changed. People have changed their stories. Did this really happen or did it not? We're going to find out tonight. It was tasked to me as a coordinate remote viewing target, and I have Barry Littleton here with me tonight. Please tell me welcome to the show, Barry Littleton. Hey, Barry.
It's a sort of weird 0 point energy over here. What's happening? Well, greetings, Jessica. Hello to the audience. How's everybody doing? Thank you for having me on again. This is a unique case, a unique target.
It is.
In terms of, I had was familiar with it, but not in depth. because it was so skewed, some of the information you hear about it. But most of it, what I'd heard about it, was revolving around individuals getting sick from perhaps the skin and cytoplasma of a extraterrestrial species. But I think we'll go much deeper than that and get a little bit more facts with the data you got. So I'm looking forward to it.
It's all about the data, right? Okay, well, here's the thing. I'm not familiar with this incident. I think that it's making some headlines right now, and people are kind of talking about it. And I'm not sure what's brought this to the surface, but for whatever reason, we're talking about it tonight. It was tasked to me as a remote viewing target. One of these blind targets. It turns out that this happened in 1996. Now, in 1996, I do remember this happening. I was, however, I think I was in high school back then when this happened. But I do remember it vaguely, because I was really into UFOs. I was really into ghosts and weird, paranormal stuff that happened. But there wasn't a whole lot of press about it. But I do remember this happening, Barry. Do you remember this?
Yeah, I remember hearing about it a long time ago. And honestly, as I had, as I had messaged to you, sometimes I got this one confused with the Antonio Villas Boas. He had that thing that happened in the same area in terms of it. And he was a gentleman that had said he was, it was a type of sexual type of encounters. He was having abductions, and the women, he said, were coming in and jumping on him or whatever. And he got a strand of hair from one of them, had it analyzed. And it was some type of an odd, like Nordic structure that isn't from that area and something like that. But in terms of his case and this one, sometimes I would get crossed up in my mind by name only. But yeah, so.
Yes, I actually, okay, so you had made a post, you tagged me in a post today about that incident. And I did put some pictures on here, but for YouTube purposes, I had to cover up the naked parts. Okay, so maybe we'll show those later, because they're actually kind of funny. I put smiley faces all over the private parts. Okay.
Well, that takes us into that thing like Michael Higgins. And I'm gonna tell you, and if you have an experience like that, you're kind of just screwed, man. I can say my experience, as many as there were, none of them had a sexual connotation to it.
No.
I was on that ship, I guess. I wasn't on the, yeah, that's Michael Higgins. Yeah. He was having hybrid children and all that, having sex with these creatures, these gray type things, and some of them are mantid types. You see the mantids in the back. These are supposed to be mantid hybrids, and he was being bred with them. And everything in his encounters are extremely explicit, all the way from the whole sexual connotation to it. That's just.
Yeah. Well, you know what really threw me off was, like, it was a human body, all anatomically human, like female human parts and everything, but the face was completely mantid looking, or gray. Mm-hmm. That was weird.
And removing the removing the extreme sexual connotation that comes with this case, what he describes about the being as far as behaviors and anatomically and other things is kind of interesting, So, and Villalobos, he was the one that had the two ladies that came into his room, and he'd been having these encounters, and he got a hair of one of them, had it analyzed. But he was the same type of, was having the same sexual connotations with his encounters, and that's something that I think just needs to be kept separate, is we're not all as contactees. We're not all like that. We're not all having the hybrid children and all that. There's different types of contactees and experiencers, and that needs to be put out there. So anyway, I feel like we're going away from the people getting sick on touching alien skin and whatever.
Yeah, well, I mean, but hey, it's all relevant though, and especially when it comes to this target, because this is different. This is very different, because after doing my research on this target and what this is, the story goes, I mean, I'm going to get really way more into this, but the story goes that this an alleged spacecraft, let's just say, long story short, we're going to get more in detail, y'all, I promise, but it crashed. The inhabitants of the beings, the creatures that were on this craft, crashed the craft, and then they went running out through this community. And they were eventually found and captured. And one guy actually grabbed one with his bare hands as it scuttled out in front of his car. He was a military policeman. Grabbed it and took it to the hospital. The hospitals rejected it. They didn't even want to look at it. They were like, oh, hell no. Okay. We don't want this thing. Go to the next hospital. He took it there, and he ended up dying like 2 weeks later from an infection from touching this extraterrestrial, and from another ET. We're going to call him an ET. Okay. But we're going to get into the data about all this because they were called ETs, aliens, and demons. Okay, so those are the three ways that they've been described. A fireman who actually helped wrangle another one with a rope, he died like 2 weeks after he touched that thing. Okay, they also smelled like sulfur, Barry. Now, have you heard about ETs and aliens smelling like sulfur and ammonia?
You know, it was supposedly a cytoplasmic cellular problem that they died from. And also, yes, but you know, more to the point, I've heard about demons smelled like that and negative inorganic beings. But in I think, just to keep it in the realm of this too, right? And the fact that I have to take into consideration that a lot of these reports, when you read this, there was no flying saucer mentioned until it was like interjected at a certain point.
Mm-hmm.
These beings were taken and they thought they were demons. And the demons often smell like sulfur, but for this, in case they did have some type of a extraterrestrial or interdimensional connection, I would definitely say interdimensional density in terms of all the reports I've heard now and back then were about these beings buzzed. They had a buzzing about them. They had a buzzing sound. So if we want to go into the insectoid level, you start getting a faster vibration. It can sound somewhat insectoid like that, a buzzing. And also when it comes to stink and smelling like sulfur, the insects that smell like that are stink bugs and earwigs. We do have insects on Earth that smell sulfur-like. So, you know, just food for thought again. I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah. My dog smelled like sulfur last night. I'm just saying. Sorry. My dog smelled bad. She had gas. Okay. But anyways, that's besides the point. Okay. That was my dog. All right. Like my son literally went and got a gas mask and put it on.
Yeah, Jones, sometimes you go left on these, Jones.
I did. I just thought of that. I'm so sorry. I know we're going to stay on task. We're here to explore these things, but we're also here to have fun. Okay.
Yeah, you make it fun. You do that.
I know. We try to have fun too. Okay. It's been a heck of a day. All right. So yeah, a sovereign cosmic wild man knows all about that. Okay. I'm just saying. Okay. So anyways, so yes, absolutely. I've had contact with ETs. I don't remember a smell. I don't remember a stench. But there are a lot of people who do make the connection of aliens and ETs being demons. Okay. And demonic forces smell bad. Bigfoot smell bad. They smell like sulfur and ammonia sometimes. Okay. So there's cryptids that smell that way. Okay.
Native American Chief Cat always told me they can turn on the Bigfoot can Sasquatch turn on their pheromones to really emulate that skunk type of rotten meat smell just to get rid of you.
Yes. I think it's like a warning kind of a warning system, like get the heck out of here, honestly, because you don't want to be in a room full of that or in the woods smelling that. But okay.
Or with your dog, right?
Or with your dog. My son literally went and got his army gas mask. Okay. All right. So let's get back to the topic though. Okay, so let's talk about this area of Brazil, because a lot of times I've heard a lot of, since I've been doing my research on this, I've heard a lot of stories of ETs out of Brazil. There's a lot of videos of alleged, militant, I'm not saying military, but militant looking guys taking ETs out of the jungles, out of the woods, out of the Amazon forest there, on stretchers. I mean, I have some pictures actually that I'll show, because, and there's actually a picture with some like school children, which made me think of that target you gave me a while back, Barry, of the school children down in Zimbabwe, okay, that had the encounter with the ETs out there. We have this right here. Those are some children down in Brazil. There's allegedly some ET. Now, if these things are real, I don't know. I mean, I haven't really researched this very heavily, but
It's guts big as mine.
this is poking its belly out. It's poking its belly out. And then we got this thing. I mean, but who's to say? I don't know if this is real or not, but this is stuff that's been going around the internet. You know, those TikTok investigators. Okay, so that's kind of like TikTok kind of stuff right there. But however, who's to say they're not putting out some real stuff on TikTok that they,
well, main point is that, it's a point, it's a contact point. Brazil is hot. The whole continent that is hot over there. And it's fascinating because this right here, I think, is an example of something that happened, probably military getting a hold of one of these crash ships. Because when you go into this, you'll hear how, I'm sure you saw how much they said that the United States came at one point and took over the salvage operation. And that takes us into people like Clifford Stone, who said he was doing that all the time. Was that one of the missions he did? Did he mention that one? That's worth investigation in his speeches that still exist on YouTube, I think.
Yeah. Okay. It could be. Okay. Well, let's kind of get into a little bit of the area of where this happened and kind of the backstory to it, and then we're going to get into the data. Okay, because we do have some interesting data on this one, and I actually made contact during this target with a being, which turned out, I guess it was one of the aliens. Okay, so I actually had a deep mind probe because I detected a presence, a being in the data, and I made contact with it. So we're gonna, y'all, this is gonna be really interesting tonight. This doesn't happen all the time, right, Barry? I don't make contact with stuff like this too often.
I think more than you think, or you give yourself credit for. That just happened when you were looking at Alpha Centauri. Remember, you had a guide with you as you kept saying it.
Yeah, that's true. I did. I do have some guides, I guess, that come in there and guide me through and help me out. But I'm also told to never associate with them, unfortunately. Okay, so like when you're remote viewing, and this is a little remote viewing tip, the type of remote viewing that I'm trained in, we're pretty much taught like not to interact with any kind of lower vibrational being. And so I take just about everything as a lower vibrational being. Okay. When I'm remote viewing, I'm like, why are you paying attention to me? You shouldn't be paying attention to me. Like, I know that sounds weird. It's hard to explain, but I take that as me needing to keep my distance. Okay. From anything that's trying to interact with me. Unless I'm trying to interact with it. People, y'all have no idea. We are very powerful beings, y'all. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
We are. Yes. So.
Yes. We're given the delusion that we're not.
Exactly. Thank you. Absolutely.
That's strictly environmental circumstances here in the flesh.
It is. So I like to go whenever I go out, especially like when I'm Bigfooting and all that kind of stuff too. I like to I assume that I have just as much right to be wherever I am as the Bigfoots and all the critters that are out there. And it's the same in remote viewing, but I do have a healthy dose of respect. Okay. But I don't, and that's in everyday life. We should not be associating with lower vibrational frequencies, y'all. Okay. That includes people in your lives. Okay. Right, Barry?
Well, look, absolutely. And here's the problem. That's why I'm not into the channeling thing. Sorry. I get information, but I don't channel. Okay. And some of these channelings that we get, you have to be very careful. You don't know who those beings really are and what their interests are and who that person is channeling and giving their body to. Sorry, not my style. As a medium,
right.
Not my style.
You're right. Absolutely. 100%. Amy, thank you for that super sticker. I love you. God, that's so sweet. Thank you.
What's up, Amy? I'm still looking forward to working with you.
Oh my gosh. She's so sweet. Okay, y'all. So, I'm going to call this Virginia, but it's Virginia or something.
It does.
I know.
It does sound like that. I admit it does. I don't know how to pronounce it either, but it sounds, I think, quite similar to that, actually.
I've been dreading pronouncing this all day. I'm not gonna lie. I have been dreading this. Okay, so I'm gonna say Virginia. Okay, Virginia. Virginia has a. I don't speak Portuguese. Okay, it has a population of about 135,000 people. Okay, it's one of the largest cities in the region. It's close to Sao Paulo, Brazil. Okay, so I'm going to show a map for everybody who's watching tonight. This is a map. You can see it's actually Rio de Janeiro. It's close to Sao Paulo actually. But let's see. Here's another map right here. It's kind of northwest of Rio de Janeiro. Okay, this is where we're talking about. It's one of the largest cities in the region. Agricultural, it's kind of mostly like an agricultural area, and they grow corn and coffee beans and soybeans. And so here's how this all started, Barry. Okay, so how this all started was on the morning of January the 13th of 1996. Eurico and Oralina de Freitas, they own a farm in that area. A little before sunrise, the woman, Orlina, she heard her cows were kind of in distress. Okay, she heard her cows outside. The sun had not come up yet, but she walked outside to see why her cows were acting up, and she saw a craft hovering over her pasture. It was cigar shaped. She ran and got her husband, and they said it looked like a submarine. Okay, like a submarine. The size, they said a mini school bus. I'm thinking that's what we call a short bus. Okay, so it was like the size of like a short. It was a short bus submarine. Okay, and so they said that as it started puttering along, and it was putting off white smoke, and it was having trouble maneuvering. But they watched it for an entire hour as it kind of hovered over their cows in the pasture. Well, it eventually kind of disappeared over a ridge, and then another gentleman started seeing it. Okay, this guy named Carlos de Souza, he was driving in his truck, and he heard a muffled rumbling sound, and he thought it was his truck. He was in a pickup truck. So he pulled his truck over, thinking that was his truck making all that noise, and then he realized that the noise was coming from above him. So he looked up and saw that same craft. It was a cigar-shaped craft, and it was about 300 feet in the air. And it was starting to fall. It was losing altitude. He said it had windows on the side of it and a large crack in the middle where white smoke was coming out of it. He said he knows engines because he's actually a pilot. Okay, so this guy was actually a pilot. He said the engine, if it was actually having engine failure like an airplane, it would have been black smoke. It would have been dark, but this was white smoke. But he said that it went over the mountain and it kind of disappeared. So he followed it because he was worried that this was like an airplane. He didn't know what it was, but he wanted to go give help whenever it crashed. He wanted to go help out. So when he got over to wherever this thing crashed, he got out of his truck. He ran towards it. He started noticing that the debris from it was like aluminum foil. And he would pick up these pieces that look like kind of like tin foil or aluminum foil. He'd pick them up and they would like crumble it up like in a ball, and it would just pop back into a smooth sheet. Kind of like what we hear about with the Roswell crash, right?
No, coincidentally, that is, yeah, big coincidence there. Almost exactly the same, but never mind that.
No, it's the same. Is it? Well, they call this the Brazilian Roswell. Okay, so this is the Brazilian Roswell crash, basically, is what this is. So something that he noted.
It implies there could be a lot of fabrication. I'm just going to say that. But go ahead.
Could be. It could be.
I'm not saying that's what it all is, but we got to stay objective about this a little bit. Some of the things about this case. But go ahead.
That's right. Bigfoot Michigan Rob, thank you for that super sticker. And yes, it is. I was dreading pronouncing the name of this show tonight. Absolutely. You know what's up. You and your pineal gland. I know what you're talking about. Okay. So thank you. Okay. So as he approached the debris and the crash, he said there was a crash site. It smelled like sulfur and ammonia so bad that it was making him sick, and he had to cover his face because it smelled so bad. He said as he walked up to the crash, he turned around and there was a convoy of military vehicles rolling up on him. They straight up rolled up on him. He turned around, they jumped out with guns and told him to get the heck out of there. They're like, you didn't see what you just saw, buddy. Okay. But they told him to go away. So obviously, I mean, I would have done the same thing. You can't just stick around in that case. I might have grabbed a piece of that aluminum, put it in my pocket or something, been like, okay, we gotta have proof of this now. Okay. But I'm a crypto researcher, so I would do something like that. But he went back into town to like decompress. Okay. What? I take course.
I saw a comment over there about remote control. I'm sorry, I should be looking over. I saw somebody made a comment about they want a remote control for their. It was just kind of funny. I'm sorry, it caught me off guard. I just saw it. Sorry, I was still going to interrupt you. I'm sorry.
Oh my gosh, Susie B, thank you for that.
This is going to be laughing. The whole thing is you keep making me laugh this time, so I'm trying to be serious over here.
I know. Well, it's just I've had a crazy week. I'm here to laugh tonight and have fun. So, thank you, Susie B. That is so sweet. She loves your laugh too, Barry. And thank you. Okay. So this guy goes into a coffee shop in town, and he's trying to decompress, trying to wrap his head around what the heck just happened, and he gets approached by MIBs, Men in Black. They told him they know his name, they know who he is, they know who his wife is, his daughter. And they know that he knows what just happened, but what he saw never happened, is what they told him. So that was that, right? About 3 hours after this crash happened, okay, for the next 3 hours, authorities were getting phone calls, getting phone call after phone call about sightings. Some of the soldiers were actually assigned to go do a crash retrieval, allegedly. Okay, allegedly. Now, we hear about that a lot here in the United States. I may or may not know somebody that may have done a crash retrieval. I don't know. They're not supposed to talk about that kind of stuff. So who knows? But it happens, I'm pretty sure. Okay. And so the soldiers allegedly were sent out to do a crash retrieval and to find the survivors of the crash. Early in the morning, around 8 o'clock in the morning, this is 8, the sun had come up by 8 in the morning. A student from a local school had reported seeing a dark 3 to 4 foot tall, skinny creature with small hands and long three-fingered hands, just 3, okay, at a local park. So that was the first report I think they got in. I don't know if the couple that saw the craft hovering, I don't know if they called authorities or not. But this guy called in and said that he'd seen that. And then 3 young women, I think they were sisters. They were walking through a park. Like they had taken another route. They'd never went through this park ever to go to school or wherever they were going. They were walking through the park. The story goes they saw a 4 foot tall creature in the tall grass by a wall, like a cinder block wall. He was dark. I say he. It was dark and oily, with no clothes on. It had 3 horns on his head with big red eyes. They said that it was almost like telepathy, Barry, that it didn't talk, but it was putting off a very emotional message to them, like, I'm hurt, I'm hurting, I'm in pain, and I need help. Well, they, of course, got scared to death. They got scared to death, and they ran off. They ran home and told their mom. They were terrified because they thought they had just seen a devil or a demon. Okay, well, we're going to get back to that story because with all of these stories, there is an explanation by the authorities. Okay, the explanation for that one is really interesting, right? So we're going to get to that in a minute. All right, so those are the girls that saw it. And then we had military police that were dispatched that were out looking for these things. And there was a guy named Marco Cherez. I think it's how you pronounce his name. He was only 23 years old. He was in a patrol car with another guy, and they spotted a little creature that ran across the road in front of their car, kind of scooted across the road, and they said it darted. And so Marco jumped out of the car to run towards it. The thing did not even fight him at all. Okay. When he got to it, he grabbed it up. He said it was oily. It was very oily. And that his skin felt oily. So what this guy did was he grabbed this thing. It was sick. He could tell it was sick. It didn't fight back. He held on to it. And from what I can tell, this guy had a cut on his arm. Okay, he had a cut on his arm. And as he's holding this thing, apparently some of that oil got in his cut or something. And he sat in the back of the patrol car and took it to a hospital. The hospital, the first one he went to, said, "Nope, we're not taking that thing. I don't know what that is. We're not looking at that." So they went to another hospital while he's still holding this thing in the back seat. And they took it in, and that guy died 2 weeks later from an infection that he got. They think it was from, some say it was from touching that alien. He was perfectly healthy before that. Okay, so he's perfectly healthy.
His blood reports, they released his blood reports, and on there it's cytoplasmic infection. So some type of a cytoplasm that got him. I think that's kind of interesting.
Yes. Well, the family said it took months and months to get his autopsy report. The doctors wouldn't give it to him when he died. They wanted to bury him immediately with a closed casket. And they wouldn't really talk about what happened to him. Now, his sister later came out and said, well, he had a cyst on his arm. And it could have been that cyst had gotten, maybe it was cancerous or something. You know, there was some sort of an excuse for that, right? But yeah, he ended up passing away. So another call that came in, the fire department took. So the fire department was getting calls about a wild animal. It was on the loose near the park where those girls had seen this creature. And it gave off an odor like ammonia and sulfur. And so the firefighters went out there and got it with a net, Barry. They took a net. You can find videos of this, like these firefighters doing a reenactment kind of, and they got the nets. And I mean, this is completely documented all over the internet. Okay, you can find a lot of these videos of the people actually being interviewed. I have pictures of the girls right here. These are the girls. These are them at the age that they were, I guess, around that time when they saw this being. This is the field right here. The first field. This is a kind of a recreation of what that couple saw over their cows. Okay, and here's another one. I guess the military swooped in and went and got the craft. Okay. These girls stood by their story this entire time, by the way. Like they never changed their, well, I'm not gonna say they never changed their story, because later on in life, I think they did a little bit. So, but when they were younger, they didn't. Okay. But you know, money talks, they say. And so people were throwing it out there that like, well, there was money involved. And so they may have been paid to say some of this stuff, but okay.
Well, you know, most of this story revolves around them. They were the first one that came forward, and then all of a sudden other people, oh yeah, and then me. But they were the first ones that really came forward about it, and most of it is tailored around them. That's another interesting fact.
Yes, it's interesting. Okay, so so the fire department, the firemen got this little creature with a net. The soldiers showed up and took these little aliens. They had two aliens. I'm calling them aliens, but they took the two creatures away. They put them in body bags, even though one was still alive. They said they took them to a hospital. The hospital was put on lockdown. The military personnel, oops, my computer's kind of throwing up pictures on its own tonight. But the doctors were ordered to take x-rays and pictures of these. And the doctors were told to keep everything a secret for national security. Here's the kicker. The entire hospital, that wing of the hospital, smelled like sulfur and ammonia so bad they had to shut the hospital down for days in order to try to clean it out, to get that smell out. But even the cleaning crews couldn't get the smell to go away, Barry, which is crazy, right? Totally crazy. One of the firemen died a week later. The fireman that had actually grabbed it with a net, I believe, died. And so I think both of these guys said that like after they touched this alien, that their skin felt that it was feeling oily, but there was no oil on their body. Okay, so that's odd too. There was a guy. Okay, so James Fox made a documentary about all this, and he went down to Brazil and tried to interview a whole bunch of the people that had encountered these beings, and the one guy that could actually debunk all of this to say yes if it was real or not, it was the guy that was driving the car with the military policeman that died, and he refused to talk. Apparently the MIBs, the military, the U.S. Air Force came down, the U.S. military came down, took the body bags away, took over the entire operation, and hushed everybody up. It's like, this did not happen.
I think, okay. That again, I think that is one part of the story. I think it's very relevant amongst all the other malarkey that surrounds it, to me, just to be honest. But when dealing with that, I think it's very worthy to look at all the accounts given by both Clifford Stone and Robert Dean. Those two were, I think, some of the best whistleblowers we've heard as far as crash retrievals go. And they spoke about many of them in many different areas. Did they speak about one in this area here that is this one? It's worth researching. They both have a bunch of speeches and lectures that are still exist on YouTube, although they're both deceased now. So again, I'm just throwing that out there because I know we've got a lot of people in here like Brown Dorf that are researchers, and we'll get on it and check it out.
For sure. Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. Okay. So I said the military had taken control of the operation. The mother of the four girls, or the mother of the three girls that claimed to have seen this demon creature that may or may not have been an alien, she said that about 4 men, like U.S. military guys, pushed their way into her house one day, and with a suitcase or a briefcase full of tens of thousands of dollars, and said that they would give that briefcase of money to her if she would shut her girls up and keep them quiet, and have them renege on their story and say that they were lying. And the mother refused, Barry. She was like, nope, we're not doing that. So she didn't want the world to see her daughters as liars. So she didn't take it. The guys got mad. I mean, whoever was there, and they took the money and left. Okay, they took the money and left. There were other people that reported seeing UFOs hovering over their homes, and they all got visited by men in black or U.S. military Air Force, I guess. I don't know who was there, but told them to all be quiet, or else they would face some severe consequences. So I think it was a big old cover-up, honestly. But then, like, the cover-up came in, and when you go back and you look into this, there's an explanation for everything now. Okay, so there's an explanation for everything. So that's why this was tasked as a remote viewing target, apparently. Okay, see, first of all, did this really happen, or is this just made up? And these people, were they just out there to get famous? Okay, and I mean, after I did my research on this, I'm looking at these women had no reason to be ridiculed their whole lives. Like, was it really worth it to be ridiculed and to be called crazy your whole life by making up a story about this? I don't know. It's not worth it, in my opinion. So I mentioned that people said that they could have been compensated, and that's why they could have made up this story. The sisters were said to ask for like $200 for every interview they did. The mention of alien or demon, they were the only ones that ever said that to begin with, apparently. And chupacabras that you and I have looked into, you gave me that target a long time ago. That was really popular back in the 1990s, because that was like 1994 that the chupacabras got out of that facility down in Puerto Rico, right? So there was like a chupacabra craze going on. So here's the interesting thing. I'm going to pull up some pictures of this poor guy. This is kind of sad. Okay, it's a little bit sad. Here's kind of the picture of how the girls describe what they saw. So this is an artist's rendition of what they said they saw. Well, and here's another one. Okay, well, I want you to compare that to this guy. Well,
you
well,
know,
that's the thing
and it's worthy though, because that cat is crouching in that area
Yep,
all the time, and
yep,
he's mentally ill, but he sits down like that all the time.
that's
So I
what
mean,
it's from.
you saw that, did you? That's good.
Yep.
Very
Okay.
good.
So
Yeah, yeah,
we
good.
have to make these connections here, because when we're looking into this stuff, it all is connected. We need to look into all the different routes. Okay. So this guy is Medino. Okay. And that's his nickname. His actual name is Luis Antonio de Paula. They call him Medino. And he lives at that park that these girls saw this. Okay. When they saw this creature that um, they said that a storm had just passed through, and this guy could have potentially been covered in mud. Okay, because he's got disabilities. He's got I'm not exactly sure what all disabilities that poor guy has, right? But there's something where he lives there, and
And he's known to roll in the mud. They said.
yes, and he's always crouched down picking up small objects. And when it rains, it gets muddy, and he gets covered in mud. Okay, so he gets covered in mud, and I know. And if you didn't see the pictures, it'd be hard to believe that, right? If you didn't see the picture, it looks a lot like what those girls had mentioned. Well, the girls said that they know him, and that they would have never mistaken him for an alien or a demon, is what they said. But later on, they were stated, I think in the original interview, they stated they didn't know who he was. They had never met him before.
Yeah,
They
no,
didn't know.
of course. All of a sudden, he's their homeboy, because young girls like that always go and talk to people in the park that are hunched down and rolling in mud.
No.
Of course, that's his homeboy. So they knew him all the time. They just forgot to mention it. See,
Exactly.
stuff like this, it's
It gets muddy, right? It gets muddy. It muddies the
uh,
water, so to speak.
yes, very much so.
Okay.
I mean,
I
it
know.
almost seems like those girls were plants, simple plants to divert the fact that the military did a recovery from a craft, and that's really what happened. And everything else is just a bunch of hooey.
Yeah.
Divert from the fact that there was just a real recovery.
Yes.
Sorry, so I don't mean to keep going through the stuff, but it's just I'm that guy that's a little bit cynical. So I catch so much baloney and malarkey and construed stories in these communities and on these when I was as a contactee growing up, that's why I read all this stuff, especially back in the 80s. I was looking for similarities. And then as you keep going, you find a lot of stuff you're hearing about isn't even real. And it's not even how the contact scenario really goes down.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry, that's why I'm just a little cynical. I don't want people to think I'm just a non-believer totally, but
Yeah.
there's a few things like this here, that may
Yeah.
not, it's just muddies the water of what really happened there, I think, like you said.
Well, there's a picture right there. It looks a lot like they look very similar. I'm just saying. It looks similar. And look,
Extremely, don't you think?
nobody's laughing at the guy. It's the similarity it's almost kind of absurd. Okay, just a
Exactly,
little
the
bit.
similarity.
That
That's
there's
quite
a
I
there's a
wasn't
similarity there.
laughing at anyone with disabilities. It's not like that. I work
No.
with people with disabilities my whole life, my adult life. So it's not that, but it's just the synchronicities of this whole deal. It's like, man, put it to you like this. That's an amazing coincidence. And coincidence is something used by fools and liars throughout history. Just saying.
That's right. Absolutely, Barry. I know. I'm the one that started the fun train tonight. Okay, so I know this is, but to me it's a no brainer. It could have seen that guy. Oh well, there goes my feed. That was weird.
You're still here. You're still here. I
I'm
agree.
still here. It just disappeared for a half second there.
There's only one cycle, half cycle. We're good.
Okay. Okay. Well, okay. So it could have been that. Okay, it could have been that man. Could have been. Now, the couple who actually said that they saw the UFO in their field above their cattle, they changed their story to saying that it happened the week before that all this went down. So it's just timelines started getting mixed and overlapping, and the story started getting muddy, so to speak. Um, Yeah, and then that guy's sister, Marco's sister, the guy who had the cyst and the scratch on his arm that actually held the alien or the creature in his arms. His sister came out and said that he had a cyst, and she doesn't even remember him working that night. She said so. The story started changing, and here's another kicker. They said reports came out that the two little people they saw in the hospital were actually dwarfs having a baby in the maternity ward. So, and it could be, okay, it could be, I don't know. It's a lot. That's a lot. Okay. But that was the official story that came out. Okay, so let's get into the data, because this, I mean, we have gone like 45 minutes with no
all we have here is the data.
It's all data. Okay, but there's so much going on, Barry, that we had to cover all of that. This is not just like a one and done. This is a huge plethora of activity that was going on. Okay, a lot of activity. Oh my gosh. Yeah, so okay, so with this target, let's just say this target ended. The data ended with me making contact with some sort of a being, okay, a consciousness that I actually made contact with. And I asked who it was and what were they doing and what did they need? What did they want? And I got some answers. Okay. So for some of my sensory data, and if anyone would like to follow along with my data, it is on my Patreon. I even have those pictures that are uncensored with smiley faces on the private parts. Those are on my Patreon, uncensored. You guys, Barry, I hope you don't mind. I put those on my Patreon today. So, but anyways, yeah, in case y'all wanted to see those, they're there. Oh, and you can go to Barry's Facebook too. They're there. Okay. All right. So for some of my sensory data, for some of this, I was picking up on something that was stricken. I wrote the word stricken down. Okay. Strides, elongated. I was picking up on something little. And I wrote down the word grayish. Like I've never written grayish. Instead of gray, it was like grayish. But I wrote down belittle. I heard yelling, shivering, floating, and hiding. That was my sensory data for this target. Okay, for the stage 1 and stage 2. Okay, so on my AOL, I wrote down 2 different terms because you hear something in your head. I write it down both ways sometimes. So I heard bases. So I wrote down BASIS, and I also wrote down BASES, like bases, military bases. It could be baseball bases for all I know. But I wrote down bases. I wrote down container and containment, little people, nuclear dump, and radioactive.
That really stood out for me. Those 2 really stood out to me when I looked at that data.
Did it? Mm-hmm. Why did that stick out for you? Because of the smell?
No, that, but also the fact that you're dealing with these. I think we're dealing with another one of these underground facilities that's dealing with these chimeras, these different experiments they're doing. That's what the chupacabra, something like that, was connected in that general area. But then this is just, when you start dealing with nuclear pollution and also certain genomes that can come from that, and just that area, and that could be something also going underground, laboratory. I kept kind of sensing laboratory type of thing with these things. And whether there was or wasn't a craft, but it's pointing to that it might not have been. And we keep having the first representation of them or referral to them was demon. I think that holds a little bit more water than is given credit. Yeah. And the sulfur smell, and how most demons smell sulfur more than what you hear. If you were to research extraterrestrial smell opposed to the smell of haunted places and demon, you'll find sulfur comes up more in negative inorganic beings than it does even extraterrestrials. You hear that all the time. So there's people in this chat that have been in a haunted house and smell sulfur in there in a real good haunted room. It's light, but you'll smell it.
Or they could have had a German Shepherd with gas like I had last night. Okay, so all right.
Agree.
I know, that's terrible. Okay, so I started hearing things. I was hearing quotes. Like I was clairaudiently hearing a voice. Multiple voices. So I was like it was in a situation. I was hearing send shivers down the spine is what I heard. I heard put away and got away. Put away, got away. And then I got like incoming news. I was picking up on like radio waves, things going across radio waves. And I'm going to skip over
What
the
do you
rest
mean?
of it.
Radio waves,
Radio
like
waves.
in the
Something was a
vicinity
radio
of,
wave. I don't know. I wrote down radio waves. That's just something I wrote down. So I don't know. I can't explain. I just wrote down radio waves.
radio waves and nuclear pollution. That's interesting, don't you think?
Yeah. Yeah. So then I started getting under, and I was getting like data that my sensory data was like something that was underground, like under something, under, below and under, and a lot of like below the vegetation, underground. And I heard clairaudiently again, I learned to survive is what I heard. I learned to survive. I was picking up on a landmass that was grassy with a vegetation all over it, brushy ground. And then I heard red alert, red alert. I kept hearing red alert. I saw an open field. And then I heard open hunting season. Okay, open hunting season. I started picking up on Clockwork Orange, that movie. I'd never even watched that movie. I'm not going to lie.
Boring. That movie's boring.
What is Clockwork Orange movie? I mean, I know what it is, but I don't even know what it's about. So
I think the most important thing is that it stars Malcolm McDowell and the guy that played Darth Vader in the original 3 or 4 Star Wars movies without his mask on, David Prowse. Him and Malcolm McDowell are running around. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. It's just not a very good. I don't know. Maybe somebody that really likes it can run it down for you better than I. I can just tell you David Prowse was in it. Does that mean anything?
I don't. Not me. I don't know. Okay.
See, that was my tip of humor. He didn't even laugh. You see, dang.
Okay. You know who that is?
Darth Vader. You know who that is? He's the guy who's inside the suit.
Luke,
yeah,
I am
he's the guy in the suit. James Earl Jones was the voice. David Prowse was the English guy in the suit. It's about 6'7" tall. 6'7". Sorry.
Oh my gosh.
He was. Anyway.
Yes. Stanley Kubrick also might have filmed a moon landing. I don't know. That's another show. That's another show. I almost got censored.
Anybody who believes that, really look into that and look into the video you're watching that you think is Stanley Kubrick saying he did it. That's not him. That's an actor.
Oh, yeah, that one. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. Totally.
Doesn't mean it's not true that didn't happen, but it, again, muddies the waters.
It does. Well, everything is all about information and disinformation, and we're being fed a lot of freaking disinformation. Okay, a lot of it. So
back to the data.
Back to the data. I got bending time. Bending time. That was a big part of the data there. Okay, so bending time, and then I started hearing this song, and I heard this on like Kill Bill or something. It's like, bang, bang, he shot me down. Bang, bang, I hit the ground. Bang, bang, my baby shot me down. That song, I literally wrote down all the lyrics I could remember from that song. So I was hearing, I always channel songs. So I was hearing bangs and I wrote down hit, like something got hit. Bang, bang, almost like something was targeted and got hit. Okay, so that just chew on that for a second. Okay, so something got shot down. That was in the data. Something got shot down and grounded. Yes, 100%. Something got shot at. I'm not gonna say shot like with a. Okay, I wrote down grounded. That was part of my sensory data. Grounded, bangs, and hit. Okay, and then I started hearing that song, bang bang. He shot me down. Bang, bang, I hit the ground. Bang, bang, my baby shot me down. And then I wrote down the word centrifuge. And then I heard, okay, so somebody started talking to me and was asking me where are you going? And then I heard a voice say, leave me alone. And so I said, who are you? And that was like my deep mind probe. I was asking questions. And part of what I got back was like, when I asked, like, who are you? This is literally what I heard and what I wrote down. Leaders of the new world, not your average people, multiverse. And then I wrote, thank you. And then I just got a lot of confusion at the very end. I don't know if I wasn't really confused. Well, emotional impact was the EI data. So like I was confused. Okay. So I was confused. And then I just ended the session at that point. Because I was like, well, I need to cut off communication. If I'm talking to leaders of the new world from a multiverse, I'm not real sure I should be here right now. I should probably go. What do you think about that, Barry? Is that bad? You're not saying anything. I'm worried.
This whole thing, what it appears to be, is some type of engineered beings, genetically engineered beings that they put in some craft and released, perhaps as a time experiment, who knows? And then they shut them down because it's some sort of a hunting game. It's a hunting game. Everything you just said that. That's some sort of a sports. It's odd because think about the Predator in terms of they came to Earth to hunt for trophies. But you've got these demonics that run this place and are hidden out. We know who they are, and they're into this. They feed on this. What does everybody calls it now?
Loosh.
Yes,
Loosh.
really deadly
right.
orgone radiation and actually negative emotions, but they feed on that psychokinetic negative energy. But that's what you just described.
Yep.
And more than that, it's some type of a creature that probably is involved with the nuclear waste or nuclear in some way. Okay, all these things and the underground that goes in these laboratories again. You see, and I keep saying I don't want to sound like such a broken record on your show, but it's these places are not something new. Just because we talk about the Big Brother G word now and they're doing it, we don't trust them. Man, that's satanic stuff that's going back a million years. These factories, these places underground, they're not new. These are old places, and they're producing these creatures, and some of them are being tortured. That's the creatures being tortured. And I find the oily substance of their body interesting in terms of if we were to connect that with not just nuclear, but also with Sasquatch has a lot of oil on them too. But to me, it sounds like those are beings that are almost dimensional. These whatever you want to call these beings we're talking about right now. The slime, the oil creatures, what the heck ever. The potential extraterrestrial interdimensional stink bugs. The stink bugs smell like
the oily stink, the stink butts. Let's call them stink butts. Stinky butts.
No, bugs is bugs. Stink bugs. Insects smell like sulfur. Yeah, and it's just I don't know, just the way they were, the buzzing effect, I'll say that again, the way they were described in several different accounts as buzzing, and they jumped around and they moved. That's almost an insect-like, but you got to remember when you start going into the buzzing, not just the insectoid type of possible genetic structure, but also when we start speeding up our vibration, our frequency, it can start sounding very insect-like to us here in the 3D.
It can. Yeah. Well, when I started making contact and asking them questions, and I was getting these answers back with this deep mind probe, and it was very telepathic kind of communication there. But leaders of the new world.
Okay. Told you straight up. So you can't get much more plain than that.
We're leaders of the new world. So are we subbing into our new world now? I mean, is this the new world?
I think we've been in that for quite a while.
Yeah. Leaders.
I think that's been happened really, really intensified about the time that, honestly, around the time we're talking about now, 96, the years Hale Bop showed up. Remember Hale Bop?
Yes.
Hale Bop was visible so clearly with the naked eye. And for a very long time, I thought that was maybe what the Hopi called the Blue Kachina. And at that point in the years of 96, I'd only heard Robert Morning Sky and Robert Ghost Wolf actually talk about the red and blue Kachinas. And but the 96 was a very long time ago. And I thought that maybe, we had the red one, I thought was that one star, that one comment that came through, the dancing one. But then the blue Kachina, I thought it was Hellbop.
The blue Kachina. I've never heard of the blue Kachina. I mean, I know Kachinas as being like Kachina dancers, like the Native American tradition.
Yeah, they're dancers, and they're also Kachinas that were extraterrestrial beings. And then you had the Kachinas that were the stars, and there were two stars: the red dancing star that was supposed to come first, and then the blue star was supposed to come. Or was it? Or am I backwards? Oh, I don't want to get in trouble. Oh, it might be the blue first, then the red one is the dancing one, and the red one is the dancing one that brings destruction. That might be it. Somebody knows. I don't want to say it. I'm not Native American. I don't want to get onions thrown at me. Good Lord. He's wrong. But nonetheless, anybody can look that up. The Kachina stars. And Robert Morningstar, I believe he still lives. I'm sure he still talks about it. But those things like that always had me looking at objects that came into our solar system. And the fact that I have memories of us sending stuff out of here. We were a type 2 civilization a long time ago. And when looking at that, movies like, for instance, Star Trek, the original motion picture, which wasn't very good, but the concept of what they called Voyager was actually Voyager 2 that sent out and they came back. And they had another episode in the original series called Nomad. There was something similar. And when really dealing with type 1 civilizations and sending things like, there's a book by Barbara Martinique. Everybody remembers Bringers of the Dawn. Oh, God, excuse me. Bringers of the Dawn. I'm tired. But she had another one that was called Earth, the Only Planet of Choice. Earth, the Living Library. And when dealing with that, and something was constructed here that would be called, in science fiction, a Bracewell probe, and sent out like that to collect information, something beyond Pioneer 10 and Pioneer 11. Do you even remember Pioneer 10 and 11? You're not old enough.
No, I'm old, but I don't know. I don't remember that. I remember Haley's comment and stuff like that. That's in the Challenger.
Pioneer 10 and 11 were similar to the Voyager probes, but they were before them, and they went out. They went around wherever the last planet was, maybe Neptune, and then they went out and flung out. But those are way before Voyager, and they just keep going and going. But of course, those are the technology isn't there. But you evolve that to a type 1, type 2 civilization that would send a Bracewell probe out, something that's really a replica of the planet and can really information-wise and collect everything it goes in the universe, and then comes back through every whatever cycle it could be. What they say the Nibiru cycle is, it comes back through here and come back to deliver and download information to us all. So therefore, when you have stars like Hale-Bopp and others that have come up in the years since then, like Comet Sighting, I was really watching that one. Oumuamua, that's another one. All these things that come in here, we got to watch. Some of them could be Bracewell probes that come from here, which means some of us on the frequency will start getting downloads from it.
Oh, wow. Oh, my God. Whoa. I think it's so cool how the frequencies are so changing right now. And people, especially those of us who have done the work, okay, like the healing work, and started exploring who we really are and what we came here to do. We're all receiving all these crazy downloads right now. And it's pretty awesome. I mean, I wasn't even aware of this stuff a few years ago, Barry. So wow. I mean, so some of these things fly into our atmosphere or near Earth and stuff just to give us downloads and to give us information. Is that what you're saying?
Look at that comment down there from Roger Blair. I would agree with that comment, but I would say the best Star Trek movie of all time was First Contact. Oh, but I agree with what he's saying. Wrath of Khan was the best one of those movies with the original cast. Yeah. I mean, of course, and now I like them all. That's the golden age of Star Trek. But I think First Contact, boy, that was a good one, both effects-wise and writing-wise. It was good, I thought. So, anyway, sorry, I geeked out on you for a second. What were you saying?
Okay. I was just kind of reiterating what you had said about there are comets and objects and meteors and things like that that can go into past our atmosphere or past our planet and give us downloads. It's just like they say the sun gives us downloads, right? If you go and you sun gaze, you can get some sun codes and downloads and stuff like that. I mean, we're like a walking computer system.
That goes a lot too, especially when dealing with melanin science and the vitamin D that goes from the eye from the sun. that has a lot to do with that too. And I started dealing with actually awakening racial memories and things like that. But that's blacked out theory is what that's called, combined with the type of pranayama breaths and things using sun gazing. Yeah, it can be very quite powerful. Other things too to gaze at. So
Yeah. Well, even crystals too. And some people wear crystals, and I have crystals all over my house and on my jewelry and stuff like that. And those actually give you codes and downloads, don't they? Or am I just making that up? I don't know.
I'm sorry, what? I'm sorry.
Crystals, like when you wear crystals, like a quartz, those hold information. Like they say when people wear like Lemurian quartz, for instance, you can get like download, like it holds codes.
Well, definitely. Well, that goes, like for example, I'm being told to mention this. Okay, that goes into the crystal, the crystal skulls too. And I would say this now, I've been around literally, I think over 100 really nice replicas, but have you really been around an ancient one? And the saying was there's supposed to be 52 ancient ones that were brought here, and I have. There was one I encountered that these collectors that went around several states that would come to the fairs here, and they had one. They had tons of really nice ones. Some of them expensive replicas. Ones they sold. They were collectors of skulls, really nice ones. And all of them, you get energy off some of them. But there's one that was named Osh, O-S-H, Osh of Ashram, and that was the most telepathic skull I've ever been in the presence of. To the point of where this guy is telling me, oh, he was found in the tomb of a Mongolian warlord. And then this thing starts coming in telepathically to me, telling me, no, he's wrong. I'm from Africa. Look at my nostrils. And he's saying things like that. And all of a sudden, this guy, Dennis, bless his heart, he just passed away about a year ago. They don't come anymore. I've never seen him again. But he's talking to me, trying to solicit me one of these nice replicas over here, which I'm not going to buy, but he's talking to me. His mouth just is going like this, and this thing is in my head, and it starts sending me telepictures. Okay, and I mean, and there were others they had there. One that was called Gaia, and it looked similar to Osh. And I took my friend there. I said, I want you to see the skull, and they told me they're collected. They said that's African jade is what he's made of. That's jade. And that's so anyway, I'm just throwing that out there because I know there's some of them that are, as far as downloading and being some type of computer and holding information, really intense. He's one of them. He's the one that's one of the ancient ones I've been around. I've had others that are somewhat active, but not like that. Okay, it's on a whole nother level. I've not been around Max or the Hedges skull, or the one they call Madre. Madre is another one that's real active. Yeah, okay. Yeah. The Madre skull, the dolphin. That's one of the dolphin skulls, the Madre skulls. Anyway, sorry, I feel like we're going off of something else. I do that on your show, come in here and start getting all excited, talking about stuff that had nothing to do with what we're supposed to be talking about.
It's okay. No, listen, I mean, it's all kind of connected, and we just we branch off a little bit when we're talking about what we're here for. Okay, because there's just so many facets to these topics, and it's all connected, and there's a reason we're talking about it. It's just the information needs to get out there in some way. So that's a good point, Sovereign Cosmic Wild Man. We have crystals inside of us in the pineal gland. Yeah, and those things, and that's what they say. Sometimes you hear about, whenever when something resonates, I get goosebumps in my body. Sometimes that's how I can tell if something is true or not. If I get a good feeling, I get goosebumps all over my body or down my legs. Okay. They say those are the crystals in your brain. Those are the crystals inside your body vibrating.
Taking that, and I agree with what he's saying, taking that and intensifying that, Sovereign Cosmic Wild Man, into the microtubules of our body and our brains especially, which do have a crystalline type, but they also have a shape, and the shape is spherical. So when dealing with the microtubules of the brain, which makes up like the neuron network of our brains and things like that, we can use those conscious waves to actually access the MACOs, the magnetically internally collapsing objects, the black holes, which are really the hard drives in the universe. And I've said it before on here, so I don't want to go into it again. But people talk about, oh, I work with the Akashic Records, Akashic Records. Yeah, you probably do. But what is it really? The space, the records of space and time. What is that really? And most of us know about that through Edgar Casey. Come on, kick it 100. But really, what is it? I just told you, they're the black holes. The black holes have something within them called the Mako that stores the information of the universe when it passes through it. That involves something called the quantum hologram, which is similar to the mirror neuron network of our brain, microtubule made up. Okay, so just food for thought. I'm just saying a little bit of things of what he was saying because I agree. But in that way, so use those crystals you're aware of in the brain, the pineal gland, start spinning them, and use that to type into the Akashic records. And for those of us like us that are somewhat aware, we have those civilizations that are type 2, 3, 4 that use the fabric of space, the fabric of the Mako itself for a prime power source. Civilizations like that are probably no longer in existence, but they still live in the Mako, in the Akashic records. They still exist, and we can access it through our brain waves, through the conscious spiral microtubules.
So that's like what, whenever somebody talks about like accessing our Akashic records, that's what they're talking about. Okay.
Yes, they're Makos. And it takes us also into, we have micro ones too. We have micro Makos, we have massive ones, we have ones that are coming together making huge super Makos, super massive black holes in the universe. It's fascinating. When talking to someone like Rudy Shields, he told me during the creation expansion of the universe, essentially, the Makos didn't exist yet. They've come into existence since the creation later on. It's quite interesting to hear stuff like that. Sorry, I'm a bit tripping out, man. I'll be tripping.
It's okay.
I make for decent information. They can say this. Nobody can say everything Jessica Jones does is cookie cutter. And that's a problem. Let's be real. That's a problem with a lot of the community right now. And everybody's doing these shows and things, but a lot of them are cookie cutter. For me, it's the same stuff I read back in the 80s. Like you read the Bringers of the Dawn. I read that like 86, 87. I start seeing the same information again. It was 88, again, and it becomes cookie cutter. It's good to get that stuff out. But for those of us that are already aware, already having experiences, we have to keep expanding our modalities and our consciousness. We got to keep going with this, So anyway, I'm just giving you some props because, you deal with a little bit of everything, and that's cool.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing. We're all on a different leg of our journey. And there's a lot of people who are just getting familiarized with some of the stuff that we're talking about. And you and I go way back. Okay. And so we're OGs in this stuff. So what we're doing, we're kind of on a more, I'm not going to say we're advanced level. And everybody that's watching us is like advanced level, but we're above novice. Okay. With our information. So it's all about everybody. And you've got a crystal skull. That is awesome.
I just showing it. It said it wanted to be showed, so I'm showing it. It looks like it has a toupee. It's a phantom quartz on the top, so it looks like it has a toupee.
It does.
It's from Australia. It's quite strong, actually. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead with what you were saying.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Oh, we got Jorgen in the chat tonight. Hey, Jorgen. Okay. Yeah. No, I'm just saying, like, everybody's on a different level. In a different journey, a different level of their journey is what I mean to say. And so once you get the information on a base level, you start working your way up. And like you and I have like been studying this for a long time. We've been living this our entire lives. So now we're like, okay, so we know the information, we know what everybody else is saying. We're diving into it to find out the real deal with some of this stuff. And we're looking at it from different angles. We're looking at it from the 5,000 foot view from above. Okay. Like we're getting the gigantic big picture and we're going inside of these things. Okay. Inside and out. And so we're just taking a deeper dive than most people. That's what
I just realized, looking back, we've been doing these shows, your remote viewing shows, for almost 2 years.
Every week. Yeah. I've done them every single week for 2 years.
Some stuff came up about the sun. I was talking about the portals of the sun and how you'd seen that involuntarily with the control portals. And I sent them the link. And when I looked at the date of it, it was like over a year and something ago. I was like, what? But as a
Yeah.
TBI survivor, one thing a little bit different is sometimes my perception of time. It's quicker than what I anticipate, what it seems like to me. One thing's a little different before I have my accident. Not too bad, but it's just different.
Yeah.
But I'll take that and for the trade to be able to still cognitively function.
Yeah. It's
Anyway.
interesting that your skull looks like it has a toupee on. To me, that's like signifying what you've been through with your brain injuries. To me,
Yeah, it might.
it could
Or
be.
that a brother's about finished up here. Could be that too. I don't know. Hopefully not. I'm the only one of my siblings that still has hair. My brothers have been bald when they were much, much younger than I am now. So anyway, yeah. Sorry, that was my tip-in humor.
Oh my gosh.
It's better than my chicken coop joke. Anyway.
Oh my gosh. Well, this has been an interesting discussion tonight. We've really explored this. I do believe that this Brazil's Roswell, if you want to call it that, I think that it really did happen, and I think that there were some what we would consider to be ETs, aliens, were involved. I actually made contact with them, so that was
Now,
in my data.
well, during the contact, did you get anything like as far as in being hunted? They're being hunted by humans,
Yeah.
or was that
I
what
mean,
you were getting?
I was picking up on them like they wanted to be left alone. Like I was picking up on, yeah, because I heard, "Where are you going?" And I heard, "Leave me alone." Okay, where are you going? And leave me alone. And it wasn't just one voice.
Mhm.
There was multiple people in the environment when I was remote viewing this.
You saw
So
something being shot, and you have descriptions of this thing having trouble over people's farmhouses or
yeah,
whatever, trying to associate what the crap from the real stuff. And that it seems like something that they purposely released, and then shot down,
yes.
and created this type of a hysteria of a type. Wow, that's torture. That's torture. That's really satanic type of stuff. You know.
Well,
Um.
I do believe it. Whatever this craft was, it was shot down. That was in the data. So, and this was a target. I didn't know what this target was. This is shot down. It says grounded, bangs, hit. That was some of my sensory data. So, and then I heard that song about bang, bang, you shot me down. Bang, bang, I hit the ground. So, yeah, there you go. I don't know. I think that potentially, I mean, NORAD picked up on it. Now, NORAD, that's an
Yeah.
interesting thing too. Let's talk about NORAD for a second.
Yeah.
I know NORAD follows Santa Claus around on Christmas Eve because my son, we watch it. We track Santa on our GPS on NORAD on Christmas Eve. A lot of parents do that with their kid. But the NORAD is the North American Air Defense Command. It was established in 1958. It was to provide early warning and defense against Soviet bombers and missile launches. NORAD, or I guess it's NORAD, soon began monitoring skies around the entire planet. So it started off in the United States, Barry, but then that was in 1958. But now it governs the skies of the entire planet, basically now. And they're the ones who notified Space Command over there in Brazil. Okay, they notified their Air Force, I guess, that there was something coming into their atmosphere. But I mean, maybe, I mean, according to the data, this thing it got shot down. So who shot it, first of all? And I guess NORAD was, and for the U.S. Air Force, they called the U.S. Air Force immediately showed up in Brazil to go scoop all this up and to cover it up.
Yeah, I'll say it again. That's again when I think everyone needs to look up the experiences of Robert Dean and Clifford Stone and see if they talked about any retrieval messages or missions in this area. I mean, they were telling the places. They talked about several of them, and see if these are ones these two worked on. They might be. If so, they talk about the different extraterrestrial beings over at each crash site. Clifford Stone maybe even goes in a little more deep on that than Robert in terms of interacting with them telepathically. So just food for thought again, and I think it's good because there's so much whistleblower disinformation out there to sort through some of it.
Yes. Yeah, there's a lot of misinformation out there. But I mean, all I have is data with these things, and it's just something to think about. Now, Andrew has an interesting question. Andrew, thank you so much for that super sticker. I appreciate that. What are my thoughts on blue Palladians? I have a long time working relationship with them. I don't know a whole lot about blue Palladians. I bet Barry does, though. What, are you familiar?
You know why you don't? Because every time you see the Pleiadians represented, what do they look like?
Blue
They don't
avians?
look blue.
Bird?
They look like the Fabio workout. They look like Fabio and Christy Brinkley, National Lampoon. That's the way they say how Pleiadians look like, when that's not true. No one talks about what the Aborigines, especially the Raven tribe, talks about the Black Pleiadians that came here, and they say they were the first here, the first people. They claim to come out of Australia, not Africa. That challenges all that, but whatever. They're still melanin dominant. And they said they were made in the exact image of the first Pleiadians that came here. And the Aboriginals are saying that are much darker than me. So that's saying we had extremely black Pleiadians that came here too. Now, what he's saying, interestingly enough, there are reports of also being blue. There were Syrians, supposedly blue Syrians that came here too. Not the Nomo, but blue humanoid Syrians that were trapped here after the fall of the firmament. And then the solar radiation turned them melanin into darker too, into black. There are already black people here, but they turned them into that too. So that's just food for thought. But as far as blue Pleiadians, me personally, I've not experienced them. The blue people I'd experienced were little cats from Andromeda somewhere.
Okay, I have encountered them before. I just remembered. So thank you for asking that. Okay, so I did pick up on them when I was remote viewing level 27 underneath Area 51. And that was the target that I did for Tyler from Journey to Truth podcast. There was a retired lieutenant colonel of the U.S. Air Force, I believe. I think it was the Air Force. I can't remember his name. But he or they decided he was part of the military, okay, and he was the liaison for the U.S. military and the inner Earth beings, is what he claimed. And when I was actually remote viewing that, I was picking up on giants and stuff. The story goes that there's blue Palladians actually underground in inner Earth. Okay. And now they would get on his claim was they would get on a bullet train, some kind of a fast train that would take him under to Mount Shasta from Area 51. And that's where he would meet with these blue Palladians, actually. I think they were blue Palladians. They were blue for sure.
Now, tell me, did they look humanoid, or they look like something different?
They look humans. Yeah, they look humans, but they were blue, and they were very large, like super tall. So they were giants, basically.
There's been a lot of people have been inquiring about blue extraterrestrials lately, and one I think is worthy looking at. Andrew, if you have a copy of the Uranta book, I have got a problem with the race section of that book most of all, but when it talks about the blue people, I think it's very interesting. And when it talks about where they expanded to here on Earth, because Uranta really means Earth, so it's the Earth book, where they go to on Earth. It's just interesting food for thought again. Oh, Hora, what's up?
Aurora's here. Absolutely. Okay. And I think there's, okay, hold on.
Carlos Castaneda friend. That's interesting. I didn't realize there were people in the community that were really into Carlos Castaneda. I thought he got left behind long ago, but interesting. It's a lot of good knowledge there.
Oh yeah.
Someone told me, well, that's all fiction. I said, well, have you ever tried any of the techniques that he gave?
No.
You ever tried any of them? Well, no. I said, well, if they're fiction, why did they yield third dimensional results when you practice them?
Interesting. I've never heard of it.
If it's just fiction.
Well, I'll have to look that up because I don't know. I've never heard of it. Poncho's Castaneda. Thank you. Yeah, I've heard of his name.
He was an anthropologist that was studying peyote, and he went up interacting with a gentleman that was of the called Don Juan was the name he gave him anyway, but he was a gentleman that was part of the Yakai tribe, he said, but he was a type of what, AKA sorcerer, shaman, and he taught this dude all sorts of stuff. It just blew his perception away. I mean, extreme training. And he did a series on the Carlos Castaneda series. And I say up until about the third book, Tales of Power, most of the really good information's in those 3 books, the first 3, in my opinion only. But.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to check that out. I for sure am. Poncho, thank you so much for that super sticker. Thank you so much. I just noticed I keep having to move my camera because my tripod is it keeps wanting to move over to the side of my room. I don't know. There must be something over there it's wanting to look at. I can't tell what's going on here tonight. But yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, I'm gonna look up Carlos Castaneda tonight, and
check him out.
I'm gonna check him out for sure.
Yeah,
you need to write your own book, Barry.
The Toltec path is what he was following, and it's older shaman sorcerers, but it's really interesting in terms of one thing that ultimately what that stuff teaches you to do is stop your internal dialogue, build your personal power, your free energy, so that you can actually dream lucidly, have dream attention, and dream lucidly, and then that changes everything. Once you really stop your internal dialogue, you become multidimensional. That's how we kind of do it. You got to remember, when we experience the universe, it really flows through us, and we experience it in a way that would be like a dream perception type of way. It's like, it's like that when you interact with some type of, not cryptids, but extraterrestrials. Get around the ones like I've been around that have a higher vibration, not these grays and reptiles everybody talks about. Get around one of them that has a really high vibration. Get in their aura, in their biofield, and you start feeling blissed out. Like it's giving you what they call Shakti Pat. Mm-hmm. When the guru touches a apprentice and they have the Kundalini release and the chakras start moving. Being in the biological field of one of these some of these non-humans for real, being physically in their present, it makes you feel like that. And then it's that much worse because when you're not in their immediate biofield, face to face with them, it gets, what just happened? You knew you were just interacting with something. What just happened? The further you get away from the event horizon, the more fragmented the memories gets. It's really a trip. It's disconcerting too. And it doesn't mean you had a negative experience, but the vibration, the frequencies are just so different. The speed of them.
Wow.
For example, think about, sorry, I'm just talking now, but man, think about our friend that mentioned the original Star Trek series, thumbs up. There's the episode where they beam down to that planet and the people are all gone, but they're hearing like these insects. And then they beam back up. And Kirk's going, there's insect population here. And Spock's going, I'm not detecting anything, Captain. They beam back up. And Kirk's like drinking his coffee, but his coffee's hearing it again. He said, they're just buzzing. Some beam up with us. You see his coffee kind of stir, and then he drinks it, and everybody just starts slowing down. And then this woman walks up to him and said, man, I really like kissing you when you didn't know I was here. But I just sped you up. You're our speed now. And they're trying to, of course, take over the Enterprise. And Kirk can't have that. So he gets a microfiche or whatever to Spock. When Spock tries to look at it on the tricorder, it's just it's going real fast, but it sounds like insects buzzing. And then he finally slows it down. It's Kirk up there saying, you must stop the device, and yada, yada. But when dealing with really vibrations with these other non-humans and inorganic beings, you experience that to a degree. That's what I meant about the insectoid type of feeling. It doesn't mean they're insectoid beings. It might just mean that their vibration is super fast compared to ours.
Wow,
that's talking about what I experienced there. So,
wow, this is an interesting question. This is from Iron Bear. Can frequencies affect Parkinson's? What do you think, Barry? I would say yes.
I'm sure, because it disrupts the nervous system too.
Mm-hmm.
And that takes us all into the whole target individual things.
Well, we're all targeted individuals. We're all targeted at this point.
Not like some. I met some that are on a whole other part of targeted. It's pretty scary. Like your friend Arkeen. He's one of them, I do believe. There's a bunch of them, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, with all this weather manipulation, like HARP, things like that, There's all sorts of sound weapons and weather weapons and all things. This is for entertainment purposes only. But
let me throw this at you. Let me throw something at you here.
Okay.
There's probably fewer people here even listening at this point, so they will never know I said it. All right, so I had just heard about a type of an implant that was removed from somebody, and it was actually a type of ultra thin graphene microchip that is like worth like $10 million. They're super, super expensive. And what that's showing is they're going to start using graphene to try to replace silicone in chips. And it's going to they're trying to make those graphene chips to run quantum computers, which really takes us into that time travel thing when dealing with that. But anyway, it's interesting because I'm wondering, and I saw actually pictures of this thing removed, and it looks just like, I'll send you later. It's an article by Laser Focus in 2019 talking about these ultra thin graphene based microchips. You might just go type that in on YouTube, and it talks about how they can process information and everything. But I'm thinking, so regardless, how did this person get that in them? And is that the beginning? That's the beginning of seriously what we call brain hacking, and him using these computers to interface with our brains and trying to make these computers, these AI, as conscious as us. That's real. That microchip I just said is real. It's not just conspiracy. You can look that up. They've made those.
Okay, well, there may or may not be graphene. Graphene may be coming out in these wonderful new clouds that we have that we'd never had before, called chemtrails. Okay, there may be graphene being sprayed on us every day, so it may be getting in our brains regardless of if we want it or not.
Well, what I find alarming about the graphene and how these new microchips, what they're structured in all these hexagons put together. And knowing what I've experienced, seeing the representations visually I've had, that I've seen actually a type of an engine brain that was made of hexagons. It was spherical, and it looked a lot like what we're calling C60 now, but it was something big and different. So I've always paid attention to stuff like that, because as a young cat, when I saw this, I started tripping out, trying to figure out why this thing was hexagon shaped. And back then it took me into what they call the honeycomb conjecture, the honeycomb conjecture, and why bees actually use the hexagon to store the life energy. And again, so there again, it's just interesting. I see these things start coming together and melding like that, and it's alarming to a degree. And when dealing with chemtrails, they have several different components in them that are real, like monomal nucleus. I can't even pronounce that one. And also, oh gosh, what's the other one? Oh, anyway, they've got all these different cryptosporidium. It's got cryptosporidium in it, which is another one very dangerous. All those, and I saw some chemtrails that Dr. Blair put out, analyzed, and this is back like a long time ago, and it had all this stuff in it. Cryptosporidium, nanodots. You know what nanodots are?
No.
Nanodots can be used for actually to make things invisible and to camouflage things. Like they're making craft right now with nanodots on them that are all over them, and they're using for invisibility. But what the hell would nanodots being in a freaking chemtrail, man? Yeah. And what's weird is those results that Dr. Blair had showed, and I've seen a few of them way back then. I can't find them on the line at all anymore. And that was before that movie came out called "What in the World Are They Spraying?" that I sent to you some time ago.
Yes, yeah.
Way before that.
Oh yeah.
He was talking about this. So anyway, just again, food for thought, because I know people are saying a lot about chemtrails right now, but it's interesting. And if you think about when you see them spraying, especially over Washington and places like that, it's right in coordinates with how the pharmaceutical companies can distribute the flu virus so that they can sell all those products. Look at the way they're spraying, the time frame, exactly how that's set up. So it tells you a lot of who's behind some of this. Pharmaceutical companies.
Of course. I've been getting asked quite a bit to remote view, to put it into the mix, like our pot of remote viewing targets, chemtrails. Okay. So
Well,
that would be kind of interesting to look into, but I think we kind of know what's already in them and stuff.
yeah.
So um
I've got a video on my channel, and it's called Chemtrails and gosh, something. But it's one I put out not too long ago because it's years old. But I never put it out because I forgot to put the pictures on there that had cryptosporidium on it. And I was talking about it, so that just to me like misses a major part of it. Where's the cryptosporidium? So I never put it out. But it's still valid information on there, and all the other pictures are there. So check it out. Anybody that has some questions about some of the composition of the chemtrails that I had saw way back then that we don't hear about now.
yeah.
Like manure. There's a lot of manure in them. Large
Oh,
amounts.
I love having manure sprayed on my head. That's great. That just sounds wonderful.
Breathe it in.
Just
You know,
wonderful.
when I went to the SETI and I was speaking out there, I think it was especially the second and third times, I'd be sitting out there talking to somebody and they just start going, I'd be like, my God, are you all right? Oh, Barry. Oh,
No, you're just full of
it's a chemtrails. Can't you smell it? I was looking at him like, oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Oh my God.
By
I
the same
have so
token,
many jokes right now. I swear to God, I have so many jokes I can say, okay? Because it gives a whole new meaning to being full of shit. Okay, I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
But you can't say that when you
Oh
sit
my
with.
God.
You're already calling me a
You're so
carnivore.
full of
Barry,
it.
you're just a carnivore. Why did you eat the vegan stuff? Well, I'm sorry. I'm just trying to get some ribs. I got called a carnivore, so I'm already on the downslide, and I'm not smelling the chemtrails. It's like, man, gosh, I'm just messed up.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, well, here's another thing. If you guys want to go down a rabbit hole, okay, so Sovereign Cosmic Wildman, you know what's up. So think about the elemental chart. Okay, they're spraying aluminum and barium. So what does that, if you go barium and aluminum, the two elements, that's BAAL, right? What does that mean? Riddle me this, riddle me that. Bell, however you pronounce that. It's not good, right? It's not good.
Isn't that BAL? You talking about like the
Bell, BAAL.
evil
That is
deity or something?
that's like, it's a demon that they sacrifice children to, right? So I'm just saying. I know. Maybe we shouldn't talk about this on YouTube. I don't know. It doesn't matter. At this point, who cares?
For you and I think they're already a
It's
bit
for
late for
entertainment
that.
purposes only. And Kira, thank you so much for becoming a member of the Hunt Club on the channel. Thank you. That's so sweet of you. Thank you.
What's
We
up,
have a new
Kira?
member. Yeah. Kira's my star sister. It's Spaced Out Radio. So you guys be sure to join us on Spaced Out Radio tonight. Dave Scott will be on there tonight at midnight Eastern time. So y'all be sure to always tune in to Spaced Out Radio.
Eyes. The psychic with the cool eyes. He's cool. Her husband's real nice too. Nice guy.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yeah, we have to be aware of what's going on. I know our friend Anne-Marie, you know Anne-Marie from way back. I met Anne-Marie at the Journey to Truth conference. I've been to Florida with her. I love Anne-Marie. She was posting pictures of the sky having no chemtrails this week, and then today she posted pictures of the sky being full of chemtrails. And it's the same here in Georgia. We had one day of none, like the first day ever of like no clouds in the sky, and then today it was full of it, and it's just, it makes me mad.
Are you talking about the lady from the conference, or are you talking about the lady that
Daryl's girlfriend?
With us?
Daryl's girlfriend from the conference, Daryl James.
Okay, that's Anne-Marie.
Yeah.
I know there's Anne-Marie and there's Tanya Marie, right? Tanya's the one that we.
Tanya, Tanya's from Idaho. Yeah.
Anne's cool. I was actually on Anne's show probably about a year and a half ago. She's a real good interviewer. She's real cool.
Yes, I'm going to bring Anne-Marie on Spaced Out Radio soon. So we're going to be talking about blue avians and things like that. So it'll be a good time.
We're going into that. Down that. You're going down the rabbit hole of the blue avians. Are you really?
I don't know. Really? We'll find out. I don't know anything about them. So why not?
You're going to find out real quick. Do you know what the origin of the blue avians are?
I don't know. Tell me.
The gentleman you watched me stand there with for 30 minutes and talk to on YouTube with a criminal from Australia about black extraterrestrials.
Oh my God.
He started that whole thing. Blue avians.
Okay.
That comes
Well,
from
we'll
him.
talk
And I'm
about
gonna tell
where
you
this
real
at.
quick, without going too far, just throwing a joke in there since it's been light. Okay, me and this cat that I'm talking about started Blue Avians, talking me to death. We're walking up to the SETI Drive there, just him and I. We tend to talk for several hours during that conference, just him and I. And I say, you know, you're not at all what I thought you'd be like. And he's like, what'd you think I'd be like? And I was like, I can say this word on here, a dick. And I'm sorry, but Barry Littleton takes dicks nowhere. Okay, I'm not into it. and then he says this. He says,
You don't want to sound
honestly,
like
I'm pretty honest. You know, Jess, you met me in person. I'm exactly what I appear like on here. I'm very blunt. I think it's a problem in this world is people aren't blunt enough, especially in these communities we're dealing with. People are quick to talk about you behind your back, but they won't say stuff to your face. So I told him that. When I say that, he goes, well, you were supposed to think that, but now since you don't hate me, just get ready for the other part. And I was like, what's that? He says, well, they're going to say, since you don't hate me, that I brainwashed you and converted you into my cult. So whatever happens, Barry, and he stops, he looks at me, please don't stop eating chicken.
Oh
and
my
this
God.
cat says this to me. It's got this like mullet, this like Blues Brother mullet.
Hey,
It's
don't
all,
knock
it's
the
all
mullet,
greasy.
Barry.
And,
That is a Southern staple, man. Mullets
I
are.
mean,
Come
the
on, man.
wind caught the side of it, and so this mullet is blowing out over here like a wing. And he said that, and I started laughing. I was in tears. I said, man, I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh at you like that, but Dad, that was funny. And he said, oh, well, you got to be funny because, you know, the way I've been attacked, yada, yada. Just food
Oh
for
my
thought.
God.
That's where Blue Avians come from. So don't
Okay.
stop eating
Well,
chicken. If you talk about it, don't stop eating chicken.
okay. Well, here's my thing. Okay, here's my thing. I do a lot of research before all my shows. Okay, so I'm going to be looking into all this stuff, and I can't wait. We never have a dull moment here at the Cryptid Hunters channel, and it's always a good time. I hope that everybody tonight learned a little bit of something, a tidbit of something tonight. I know I learned a whole lot, and I didn't even know that ETs could be oily. Okay, that was one of the things I learned was they're slippery little suckers,
Hey,
and you don't
quick
want to touch
question.
them.
You feel
Okay.
they're extraterrestrial, not man-made. Where do
Mhm.
you think they were from? You see any thoughts?
I have no idea. I have no idea. I don't know. It wasn't in the data, so I'm not sure. The whole target was apparently it was just the incident that happened. It wasn't like the origins of where they came from and all that kind of stuff. So it was just the incident. So I didn't get any data about the origin, but it was something that got shot down. Okay, it was something that literally got shot down. When I made contact with a deep mind probe, they said they're leaders of the new world, not your average people. Multiverse. I heard the word multiverse on there. So I don't know where they came. They said they came from the multiverse, Barry.
I said that, actually that makes sense. Then again, that goes from, different dimensions, different universes. That's part of what we're dealing with.
Yep. Yep.
And I take
Absolutely.
that pretty serious, But the point is, who the heck was tracking them like that, and what weaponry they used to shoot them down? Would that be those sonic weapons or those electromagnetic weapons that only work on some craft that are from the craft that beings are more nut and bolt, lower vibration like us?
Yeah. So something shot the craft. One of the eyewitnesses said the craft had a crack in the middle of it, and the white smoke was coming out of the crack. The beings, the ETs, whatever you want to call them, that came out of it were injured. Okay, they were weak, they were injured. But okay, so that my question is, if crafts can be controlled by your mind, it's like you are right, because some of these crafts that you and I have talked about are controlled by your consciousness or a consciousness, right? Mm-hmm. So if they get damaged, you're damaged, I would assume.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's kind of a lot to think about.
Or maybe even more, if they feel pain, you might feel it if you're symbiotically connected. What's up, Susan Lawrence? She's real cool. She's very aware of many things. So.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think this was a really cool target. I'm super excited that we explored this one tonight, Barry. And so thank you. It was different, and it covered a whole lot of stuff, from MIBs to crash retrievals to government cover-ups to ETs, demons that smelled like sulfur that were actually ETs. I don't think it was actually demon. I honestly, I know that picture, it looks a lot like that guy Madinho, the muddy guy or the muddy baby. I don't know what that word means in Portuguese. So I used to, okay, I know, I used to know, I don't know Portuguese, but I can kind of, let's just say I was around a lot of people who spoke Portuguese at one point in my life. Okay. I know El Gordo means the fat baby, right? Or something like that. So I think Madinho, that'd be like the mud. I mean, that sounds weird. It's like a mud person or a mud baby or something. I don't know. It sounds weird. So, but it was a muddy guy. They called him that. So he was obviously covered in mud a lot. So, like, I can't say that through the data that whatever I connected with was that thing. I think what those girls saw could have been a man with mud all over him. I don't know.
When you see that and you put them together, it got to admit, it gets an amazing coincidence, because that guy looks just like that alien, at least the stance. You know, that kind of makes, and in the way they didn't know him. Then they didn't know him, but then, like, oh yeah, that's our homeboy. You know, yeah, we know about him. It's not him. We didn't know it was him. We talked to him all the time. Oh yeah, definitely, yeah.
I mean, it's just, the resemblance is just too much, y'all. I'm sorry. It is. Right?
What a perfect way for discrediting whatever really happened, though.
Yeah, but we'll see that. Well, that's the thing. Like, you bring in some, you definitely bring in some like false information to cover up the real deal, like what happened. So that's what we kind of have to worry about in modern day right now. Like, we're having to decipher what's real and what's not, because we know that there's real stuff going on out there, real experiences, real ETs, but it's mixed with a whole bunch of fake stuff and disinformation agents and people that are out here to put out false information to keep us all confused and running around in circles.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I agree. You know, it's really cool, people saying that they learn things when we do this. That's really cool. That makes it so worth it. You know, because there's so many people that know much more than me, God knows. So the fact that I can help anybody, thank you. That's really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Bezos. That's right. Bezos and loves all. Kisses to you too, Amy. Yes. What if he was a shapeshifter? I mean, maybe the guy was a shapeshifter. Who knows? I don't know. He's covered in mud.
8:44 p.m. Ange.
Uh-huh.
It says, Kira, I'm the blue Andromedans are master healers. I've had experience with them also. They must be talking about that between them. The blue Andromedans that I saw were little cats, and I also see some that were taller, brown with like pear heads. But the little blue guys, they were all involved in healing system. I was on my YouTube channel. I've got a video called The Biobed. The biobed is as close as I've ever come to be experimented on in an experience. And it wasn't that exactly, but they said they were upgrading the quantum DNA of the light quantum of my DNA. But these little blue guys had these rods, and on these rods had these crystals on them, and these crystals had what looked like fiber optics coming out of them, and I could see like weird etchings on the crystals, and they seemed like they were very alive. And on that video, I've got some illustrations that Kasara did for me of that experience. But the thing is, people have asked Jessica, you know, did they feel like robots or androids to you? No, they didn't. They felt like they was alive to me. They felt like they really cared. They was doing their job, yes, but they weren't hurting me. And two, their vibration was not negative or anything like that. And they felt like they really cared, you know. So that's all I can say about that. Does that prove that they weren't cyborgs or something? No, but they just didn't feel that way. And although they were blue and little, that's as close to anything that kind of looked like a gray, at least shape wise, of the way they looked as I've seen. But they weren't. They were blue with these blue suits on, something totally different. And they were putting in my mind, they were from a spiral on the bottom arm, one of the arms on the bottom of Andromeda when you look at it. It's one of the spiral arms down there. So that means nothing. Like I told you before, they say, hey, where are you from? Hey, I'm a Milky Wayed. We're in the Milky Way, man. There's billions of galaxies. But hey, I'm a Milky Way, and that counts, right?
I love that. I love that. You know, I'm just tripping out on this comment from Sovereign Cosmic right now. Like in the movie Predator, mud makes you invisible from interdimensional monsters. Man, you know what? That guy Medino, who covers himself in mud, he is smarter than we could ever imagine. Because he's probably the only one that's really protected from whatever's out there. He's covering himself in mud. I mean, I need to go waller in some mud when I'm out in the woods. Okay. If I ever get scared, I'll just waller in some mud.
You remember what happened, Sovereign Cosmic Wild Man, when he got fired up with that plasma caster that Predator had? He fell in the water. He was screwed, man. Once he went that water was over, blood flash washed off. He was done. That was a great movie. And salute to the great Carl Weathers that passed away, Apollo Creed. My brother couldn't stand that actor. I thought he was great.
Yeah. That was great. Yeah.
Jackson. Yeah.
Melody. Yeah. We met Melody at the Journey to Truth conference. What's up, girl? It's good to see you in here. Yeah, man. Okay, so
I can't see your face. I could put a face with the name. Probably I'm terrible with names. But what's up?
Oh
People
yeah.
at conferences it's really cool to meet the attendees so much, because most of the attendees at those conferences should be up there talking before I should be. You know what I mean? Because you get so many psychics, mediums, and experiencers, contactees in those conferences. The attendees that have the ability to get there. It's really cool, you know?
Yes. Yeah. We have one last question tonight, and then we're going to call it a night. I got to go get my kid to bed, y'all. Okay. Have you heard of a meat suit or living suit? Well, shoot, we're all in meat suits chucking it down. You know, we're all in meat suits. What is a living suit, Barry? Do you know what that is?
Well, it's this is the human body, the Adam Kadmon. You know, and just the other night, I was listening to this. It actually kind of made me think of our friend Rob Michigan, Big Rob. But it's on YouTube, and it's just called "A Demon Walked Into My Bar," and they talk about this gentleman that came in that was some sort of a demon that's in there just getting wasted. And what they started saying when they described this individual, what they were saying and doing, and he said just wasted, where they're going to cut him off and call him for a cab. And he's saying, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to get so drunk, but it's this damn meat suit. I'm not used to it." It's a demon talking about taking somebody over. It's quite interesting when you're saying that. Yeah.
Oh my God. Pancho, you know you're a meat suit. We're all in meat. Listen, we're all meat suits. We're all meat suits. And
I'm all right with my meat suit because I have full cognitive ability in here. So I'm like down with that. And that's part of what that Carlos Castaneda stuff will show you when you really get to the end of it, like the art of dreaming and stuff, which is really what they were doing, was finding ways of transferring your full totality of yourself, the full cognitive abilities from the physical body like you have it now into the dream body. Not just lucid dreaming, but full cognitive abilities into the dream body, which means you start having the ability to manifest it over here. You're not laughing at me. What's so funny?
I'm laughing at these comments. I'm thinking we're
toasted over there.
These comments are getting hilarious and out of control. So we're going to have to call it a night. Because I'm just going to sit here and laugh. Okay, so.
Are they talking about penises again? They're talking about penises and the name of the place where it's not even that's why I started laughing earlier. They're cracking jokes about it means penis or something. What?
I don't even know anymore. Man, this has been too hilarious. We're having a good time. So yeah. So Barry, thank you. Do you have any final thoughts on I hate saying this word, the Virginia incident? Let's just call it Virginia.
No, only what we said. You know, I think we covered it pretty good. I want to also thank everybody that subscribed to my channel. I passed over 13,000 subscribers. I never thought I'd get there. My goal was if I ever made it to 5,000, I was going to quit doing YouTube. So thank you for everybody who's come over. At 13's my lucky number, so I appreciate it. So,
oh my God! Congrats.
As far as the other, I think we covered that really pretty good. Your data, I think, spoke much more thoroughly than the many accounts we can get on YouTube.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it's I have a really good time doing this stuff. When we have the best conversations, and if we can just get some information out of this, and kind of even if we just squeeze a little bit of information out of these targets, something that's not, like you say, cookie cutter, And it's stuff that we haven't heard yet, and it's not stuff that's been leaked out to the public. I think a lot of these big, like this is a big event that happened. We're only going to get what is leaked out to the public for the most part. We're not going to get any extra information. So it's cool to be able to do this remote viewing to get some extra stuff that we hadn't heard before. So
can I add one thing? One
yes,
quick thing.
of course.
Mogwai, thank you, and I love the name. And hey, Mogwai, you ever noticed that after they got fed and they turned into gremlins, how much the gremlins kind of look like the Suttonville creatures, the ones you remote viewed? Actually, they kind of look similar. The gremlins and them. I think that's where they actually got the representation for the gremlins themselves. Not Mogwai, but the gremlin part is from those creatures, actually, from the Sutton and Bakersfield, whatever you want. I can't remember what you called it on the title, but.
Mogwai, you better not eat after midnight. I don't know what time zone you're in, but you be careful about eating after midnight, okay? And don't get wet. Don't get wet, okay?
Hey, what did you call that the Sutton family remote viewing show? Do you remember?
The which one?
The one with the Sutton family, the gremlin type looking creatures that were touching the kids.
The Kentucky Goblins?
Kentucky Goblins. Thank you.
Yes.
I think
Kentucky
that's
Goblins.
where they got the image for the gremlins from. Yeah.
Wow, they were actually kind of white from what I can recall. I think they were white, but they looked like that. Yeah.
When I first read that, they were described as being green and having this kind of greenish, whitish aura coming off them. Yeah. And of course, the first ones I read, this is back in the 80s, it said they had suits on too. And then when I started reading accounts now, it says they were like naked, and you see pictures of them naked. The ones I read said they had on these suits, and they were trying to figure out if the suits were maybe what was repelling the bullets. But like I said, then again, I first read about that in a book called UFOs Unexplained, like 1986, 87, 85. It's real old. I was a kid still. 85, I think.
A lot of times they have on like a bodysuit. It's like latex, all latex, right? Sometimes they wear stretchy pants. It is for fun. Okay, that's from Nacho Libre, by the way. That's one of my favorite funny movies. Okay, but yeah, sometimes they may just be wearing like spandex looking suits or something.
Christopher Reeve. No, check out. A good account of that is the Jonathan Reed story. You familiar with that one?
No.
Jonathan Reed is the guy who was walking his dog in like on the edge of some forest, and he comes across this monolith. This floating black monolith, and then finds this creature that is doing something with flowers. And his dog runs up and attacks the creature, and the creature starts killing his dog. So he racks it with a piece of wood and like kills it pretty much. It's bashed in the head several times. Then he takes the body of it and takes it to his house. And he took a bunch of pictures of it. It's called the Jonathan Reed story. And he took a bunch of heat for it. But what's real interesting is he describes this suit this thing has on. You can see the suit. He says he took and cut a piece of it off, and then it repaired itself. And it was some type of a meta material, okay? But then later on, he claimed that the government came and got this being, but before they did, he locked it up in the freezer, but it turns out it wasn't dead. It's like regenerating. And it started communicating with him. And it told him, I'm like a botanist here. I was here doing my job, and your dog attacked me. And when it attacked me, the suit I have on attacked it. Its defense activated the defenses of it.
Cool.
The suit is sentient. Yeah, exactly. I think
it was a smart suit.
And it's interesting how they're doing different metamaterials now for the Army. They have been for a decade now, making tanks invisible and using those quantum dots, like I just talked about earlier, that are in chemtrails.
Yeah.
Again, everything I say is food for thought. I could be just off my rocker.
It's all for entertainment purposes only. Gosh, we have hit 2 hours tonight, Barry. Oh my gosh, I can't believe we went 2 hours. It seems like it flies by. It really does. Okay, well, Barry, thank you so much for being here tonight. Tell the audience where they can find you and your amazing work.
I'm doing a lot of stuff on YouTube under Barry Littleton. Facebook, I'm under Barry Littleton. I'm on Patreon, Barry Littleton. And my website is barrylittleton.com, which I don't do much stuff on there, but there are links on there My email is barrylittleton13@gmail.com. If you send something, you don't hear back from me, to send it again, because everything, I get so much spam. I try to sort it out, but sometimes I miss stuff. So.
Okay. Oh my gosh. Would you guys go please subscribe to Barry's YouTube channel if you haven't already. Join his Patreon. You will not regret it. He's got some amazing videos over there. So Barry, oh my gosh, thank you so much for being here. You guys, please come see me this weekend. I'm going to be at Spaced Out Radio Sunday night. I have Mike Familiant coming on. He is with the he's got a show and a YouTube channel called The Search for Big Red Eye. And he travels all over the country in the United States looking for Bigfoot, and has a great show. You guys go over there and subscribe to The Search for Red Eye. For Big Red Eye over there on YouTube, and come see us this Sunday night. We're gonna have a really good time. I've never met Mike before, so that's always interesting, having new people come in. I love it. Okay, so all right. Well, I guess that's the show tonight, y'all. This has been awesome. I hope y'all learned something, like I said, and thank you guys all for being here. Thank you for my channel members. Oh my gosh. If you'd like to become a member of the channel, y'all just go down and hit that join button. And I'm going to be putting out exclusive content, mostly like spiritual guidance videos, things like that for you guys. And it'll be a good time. So join the Patreon if you'd like to support what I do. Join Barry's Patreon, you guys, and find me on my website. Okay. And I do think I'm going to be speaking at the Georgia Bigfoot Conference next month. So if you guys are in Georgia, y'all come down and see me. Okay.
Hey, you think Sao Paolo will be there?
No, probably not. He's invited. He can be my special guest. Okay.
That would be cool, actually. That'd be real.
He could be my special guest. Okay. All right. Well, you guys go check out Spaced Out Radio tonight with Dave Scott. That comes on in a couple of hours. Okay. And I'm going to go get me some shut-eye tonight. I'm exhausted. And it's been a great day. All right, y'all. Barry, have a wonderful night. Thank you again for being so awesome and for being my sidekick once again. Okay.
Thank you for having me. Cool chat, too. Thank you all.
Awesome chat. Thanks to all my moderators, y'all. Y'all have a great night, and we'll see y'all later. Bye.